when my girlfriend stole my earbuds and I ended up with the last laugh. My girlfriend and I had been dating for almost a year. I'm a 25-year-old guy and she's 22. She's in university, living full-time in the dorms. I work full-time and have my own place. Her residence has some very strict rules, such as no male guests aside from parents and a strict curfew. This will be important later, and by the way, we're not in the US before the Easter holidays. A few friends and I planned a road trip, and I invited her, but she declined. The day before my road trip, I decided to get some new earbuds for the trip. My girlfriend came with me to the shop. Once there, my girlfriend decided that she would also like a pair of AirPods. I relented and bought her a pair and got myself some Bose earbuds since I preferred those and don't have an iPhone. On our way back to the university, she mentioned that she liked my earbuds since they looked better than her AirPods. She took them, paired them with her phone, and started playing around with them. I didn't think much of it until she said that she wanted them and wanted to trade her AirPods with my earbuds. I told her no because I don't have an iPhone, so AirPods would be useless to me. I found out later that they actually worked pretty well on Android, and that we could exchange hers when I got back since going back now would make her late for curfew. She kept insisting, saying that it would make her happy. I told her that I needed them for my trip in the morning, which seemed to be the end of it. We got to her residence, and as I was parking, she threw her AirPods at me and said, "Thanks for the trade," then jumped out of the moving car while still wearing my earbuds. I was shocked, and it took me a second to realize that she had just run away with my earbuds. I parked and ran after her, but I wasn't fast enough. She had already entered the building. I stood at the entrance with two very burly guards giving me the stink eye while I shouted for her to come back, but she just blew me a kiss and went upstairs. I shouted a bit more until the guards very politely asked me to leave. I was livid. She had just robbed me, and there was nothing I could do. I stalked back out to my car, fuming and cursing. However, I started laughing when I got to my car because there, on the ground near the passenger side door, was a lovely white box. It seems that in her mad dash to run away, she had accidentally dropped the charging case. I picked it up, my day suddenly brighter, and drove back to the shop. I exchanged the AirPods and got new earbuds, then blocked her and the next morning went for my road trip. I unblocked her when I got back yesterday, ready to deal with the storm, and called her. At first, she was sweet and asked about my trip. Then she asked if she had left the charging case for her earbuds in my car. I told her that I had returned the AirPods and exchanged them for new earbuds, and since my new earbuds didn't work with my old charging case, I had thrown it away because I didn't need it. That triggered her, and she started shouting at me, calling me a butthole and demanding that I get her a new pair of earbuds or we're done. I said, "Okay, I guess we're done," and then hung up. I've been laughing ever since. Our next Reddit post is from Wildcard Moose. A few years back, I was at Disney World with some friends. Disney had just opened up Pandora, the world of Avatar. Needless to say, the line for Flight of Passage was insanely long and looped throughout the park. We got in line and had to wait about 2.5 hours. While we were standing there and chatting, this Karen sneaks in with her husband and 2 kids immediately in front of us. Her kids point out to her that this is not the beginning of the line, and she immediately shushes them and tells them it's okay to cut the line because they have a flight to catch. The husband doesn't say a word. My friends were about to say something, but I immediately stopped them. My friends looked at me confused, to which I whispered, "Just watch and learn." We stand in line for about 45 more minutes until we're right at the entrance. That's when I decide to walk up to a security guard and tell him that this lady cut us in line and refused to go back to the end. I told him that I didn't want to cause a ruckus, so I waited until I saw him so he could talk to her. Sure enough, the guard walks up to her and says that she cut the line. She freaks out on him and says that she didn't and that she's been standing in line for a while. He asked her how long she'd been waiting, and she said over an hour, to which he replied that the wait for this ride was at least 3 hours, so she must have cut in. She was puzzled and frustrated, but she realized that she got caught, so she finally stopped yelling and agreed to leave. As they escort Karen and her family out of the line, I look at her and say, with a smile on my face, "Have a safe flight." Then I look at my friends and tell them, and that's how it's done. We still laugh about it every once in a while. Our next Reddit post is from Drunken Black Sheep. I'm a 26-year-old girl who looks like I wouldn't know a single thing about cars. I'm 5 feet 3 inches with long blonde hair, a soft girly appearance, and an eternal baby face that makes me look about 15 to 16 years old. I drive a rather beat-up-looking 2004 Avalon. My dad and brother are both mechanics. It's not my profession, but I've learned a thing or two from them, and I'm very comfortable working on cars. I'm only mentioning my appearance because it's pretty common for mechanics to assume that I'm an idiot about cars. A while back, I was pretty overwhelmed with life and didn't have a good space to do it, so I took my car in to get the oil changed. The place offered a free-of-charge head-to-toe inspection for any repairs that might need to be made. I knew that my car was fine. I had pretty recently changed the air filter and brake pads. The rotors had maybe 40,000 miles on them, and they were in great condition. I had a new serpentine belt too. I literally just didn't feel like changing my oil that day. Before I went to the shop, I actually checked my air filter, and it was, in fact, pristine. After they changed my oil, the guy came back with the inspection results on a clipboard and was holding my air filter. He had this grave look on his face like something was wrong. Mind you, this is a very busy place and there were lots of customers in the waiting room. He told me that we needed to go over the results because my car was about to completely break down, and also it wasn't safe to drive if I didn't get several repairs done as soon as possible because these were all completely shot. The repairs, new brake pads, new rotors, new calipers, replaced serpentine drive belt, new air filter, new compressors or my AC wasn't working, and a couple more generic things. He showed me an air filter that was filled with dead grass, a dead wasp, some dirt, and hair. Dude really scooped some BS off the shop floor and put it in my brand new air filter to try to freak me out. The total? About $1,500 worth of work. He said it would have been more expensive anywhere else, but he was willing to give me a deal. So I immediately started buying time by asking some basic questions that I knew he would have to explain, so I could nod at him all wide-eyed while I came up with a good way to respond to what he was doing. What does the serpentine belt do? Is it important? Etc. I texted my dad, "I'm calling you in a second," or just play along. I told the guy, "Oh my God, that's so scary. I can't believe I was driving around like that. Thank you so much for caring. I don't have the money, so let me call my daddy real quick to see if he can help me out. I can't afford this." I then proceeded to enhance my dramatic performance by even working up a tear while I called my dad. This guy is standing there with me in front of all his customers. I put my phone on speaker and gave my dad a whole sob story about how I need money again and I'm really sorry, can he help me? He asked what the repairs were and how much. I said I didn't know, but it sounds really bad. He says that it's dangerous, Dad. I can't last without this car. What am I gonna do? Then I asked the guy to tell my dad what the repairs were, and he rattled them all off. My dad is playing his part perfectly. Oh wow, oh my goodness, I'm glad you caught this so she's not in danger anymore. Little did the scammer know, he was the one in danger. He hands the phone back and I drop the facade and start laughing really hard. As soon as Dad hears me, he starts cackling into the phone. I said, "Dad, do you hear this BS? Get this. He brought me my new air filter that I just put in to show me how dirty it was. He pulled a bunch of dirt off the floor or something and rubbed it in my filter." My dad and I continued to crack up. The audience in the waiting room was also listening closely. Scammy McKinney was beet red and completely at a loss for words. He just hung his head down and was stuttering out some response. I handed him my air filter and told him to go vacuum it out and to make sure to let me see it before he put it back in. I sat and watched him put it back once it was clean, and I also watched him pull my car out to make sure he didn't do anything horrible while I wasn't looking. I might have taken it a little far, but I really hate when mechanics take advantage of people who don't know anything about cars, so this felt like a massive win. Big props to my dad for his performance and for teaching me about cars. Down in the comments, we have this post from Pistol Mama. One time I went in to get my oil changed at a chain place while very obviously pregnant. The tech came back very concerned, telling me that I needed my coolant changed and my transmission serviced as soon as possible, and he showed me some dirty green water and my burnt transmission fluid. I played along and got a quote with a bunch of added extras. You could see this dude just adding all the dollar signs up in his head. So I played along right up to the part where you sign off on the work to be done. Then I pulled out the receipt from the dealer from a month before where I had my new transmission and radiator installed. This dude cursed me out for making him waste 45 minutes of his time. Our next Reddit post is from Frosty Toes. I was hired at an organization with a job title that was basically helper. Well, for someone who's supposed to just be helping, I had a ridiculous amount of work. Almost all of my CO workers were huge, technologically illiterate boomers. So I actually sort of thrived there as a very useful person. For example, one guy would spend half of his day copying items and inputting them into another program we use, but he didn't even use CTRLV. He would right-click, then copy, then go into the Files menu or something, and insert copied item from clipboard. He was so proud of himself when he showed me because, "Don't worry, you won't have to retype everything." I wrote a program to do this automatically, but I didn't tell him, so I would just run the program occasionally as part of my responsibilities. Anyways, I did a lot of stuff like this. I'd estimate that I saved about 15 hours of work every day on top of the 8.5 hours that I did normally. But then, insert Sergeant Douchebag. We were having a team meeting when he shows up. White combed hair, scrunched face, glasses. He just sort of showed up one day, and he took notes during our morning meeting. At one point, someone brought up a name of one of our customers. I said, "Oh, is that 300-pound guy with the big beard?" Sort of as a joke, because I mostly do back-end stuff. But I was wrong, and my boss said, "No, it's blah blah, some other person." Okay, then we talked about that person a bit. Fast forward about a week, and this guy is a complete douchebag to me. I don't know why, but he'll ignore me during group conversations and sometimes just literally scoff at me. Who actually scoffs at people? I was having a really rough week looking for some extremely important files. People were yelling all day. I was exasperated. I had too much to do, and I was having anxiety attacks at home in the middle of the night. But it was Friday, so I was powering through. As I was looking for this file, I ended up searching deep into our file structure, and the search returned a personal folder structure within one of the drives. I clicked it out of curiosity, and there it was, Douchebag's notes. I opened it up, and there was a whole section about me. So this douchebag basically goes from location to location getting people fired to save the CEO's money, and now he was working on me. I scrolled through his notes, and at the very top I saw, P thought that a 4 feet 10 inches, 24-year-old female patient was a 300-pound bearded man. Clearly atrocious attention to detail. That's just one example of how completely messed up his comments were. So in combination with my job, knowing that I wasn't getting paid enough for my effort, the horrible week I had, and this douchebag's comments, I said, screw this. I set up 3 email configurations, one to my boss letting him know that I'll be taking 2 weeks of vacation time to be sent at 10 p.m. tonight. One to the company letting them know that I won't be present for 2 weeks, so whatever work they currently need me to do, they'll have to do themselves, to be sent Monday morning at 4 a.m. And third, for any emails that came in, I set an auto response that said, I'll be out for an unknown amount of time. For any routine, emergency, or even occasional issue, it's imperative that you reach out to Douchebag for assistance. Then I turned off every automated task that I had ever set up. Then I swung by the douchebag's temporary office and said, I think I found a way to make your job easier. He didn't even really turn his head to look at me, but just raised one eyebrow. Then I left. I actually got multiple calls on Monday morning that I didn't answer. They didn't last long apparently, but I stayed strong and didn't respond to anything. On Wednesday, I had a little anxiety about it, but I stayed strong. There was just no way that some of my co-workers were keeping up with their normal duties. I could guarantee that at least 2 people were no longer doing their normal jobs just to keep up with my automated tasks. I got a long email to my personal account from my boss on Thursday night of the first week. It went something like this, OP, I know you're a smart person and probably figured out what the company had us doing. I would say that it's very important that you call me, but that probably isn't going to work. I realize. I talked with Douchebag's boss, and he's going to be leaving our location. I explained that our progress meetings seem to be going in the wrong direction and that you're one of the most valuable employees here. I'm sure you're probably looking at other jobs at this point, or maybe you've even started one. I hope not. If you could please reach back to me, I'd like to offer you a raise. It's become very apparent how useful you are around here. I hear about it every day, believe me. So I came back on Monday with a $10,000 raise and Douchebag out of my face. My boss apologized again in person and said that he didn't get a say in it. I think it's a little weird that he could have a say after I left but not before, but still, I sort of get it.